The morning silence shattered with the growl of my John Deere roaring to life. As the harvester lunged forward, the screech of twisting metal and the crack of fiberglass echoed across my land. Within half a minute, the custom golf cart that once gleamed like a badge of authority lay mangled. Chrome bent, panels shattered, plastic scattered like debris after a storm. I didn't flinch. I didn't move. I simply stood there, watching through the haze as fate finally delivered its verdict to Karen Whitfield. But that's not where this all began. My name's Marcus Chin. 3 months ago I believed I'd found my version of heaven. A quiet home nestled at the edge of Pine Valley Estates. A manicured suburban sprawl with just enough land for me to breathe. After 3 decades running a landscaping business in the city, I'd finally earned the right to settle down. 10 acres, half regulated by the HOA. The other half zoned for agriculture. My dream? Grow high-end specialty crops for local restaurants. Quiet, clean, sustainable living. Or so I thought. The nightmare began during my second week. I was unloading my equipment when a bubblegum pink golf cart came screeching to a halt in my driveway. Out stepped Karen Whitfield, the self-crowned queen of Pine Valley's HOA. 5'2" of peroxide fury in a tennis outfit that was more costume than athletic wear. She marched over and shoved a clipboard at me like she was serving a court summons. "Mr. Chun," she said, stretching out the syllables like they were foreign currency. "That thing violates HOA Code 17-3. Recreational vehicles are not to be visible from the street." I calmly explained that the vehicle in question wasn't recreational. It was commercial equipment, meant for farming on my agricultural plot. She laughed, a sound that reminded me of rusted hinges swinging in a storm. "Well, I can see it. That makes it a violation. You've got 24 hours before I fine you." That was just the opening move. In the weeks that followed, she found fault with everything. My heirloom apple trees were non-compliant landscaping. My compost bins were labeled unapproved structures, and my scarecrow, a literal scarecrow, was deemed a prohibited decoration. Every petty infraction came with a bigger fine and more smug emails. I tried to reason with her. I even went to HOA meetings where she lorded over the room like some dictator from a poorly run student council. Neighbors whispered stories of their own run-ins, but no one dared speak aloud. Karen had been running this place for 6 years. 6 years of unchecked power, rubber-stamped by a board too afraid or indifferent to challenge her. But then came the incident that broke me. It was a Tuesday. I stepped out of my house to find her golf cart not just parked near my equipment gate, but chained to it. A thick industrial chain snaked around the posts and through the frame, pulled so tight it was warping the wood. I called her immediately. She answered on the first ring. "Karen, your cart's blocking my access. I need to get the harvester out." Her voice oozed fake concern. "Oh, that gate opens onto community property. I'm conducting a month-long study on boundary encroachments. As the HOA vehicle, it must remain where it is. That's my private fence on my land." "Well," she replied, and I could hear the satisfaction in her voice. "According to Bylaw 42C, any structure within 3 feet of a shared boundary can be repurposed for community use. Perfectly legal. That's not even a real rule. Feel free to submit a complaint," she said sweetly. "Our next board meeting is in 3 weeks." Then she hung up. I tried everything. Called the HOA management. They shrugged and said to take it up with the board. I contacted a lawyer. He warned me the legal fees would outweigh any benefit. Even the police dismissed it as a civil dispute. Every morning I'd see new damage. The chain scraped paint off the wood. The fence leaned more with each passing day. Meanwhile, Karen would drive by slowly in her husband's SUV, smirking like a woman watching a dog tied to a post. By the end of the second week, my unharvested lettuce had started to bolt. I lost 3 restaurant clients, thousands of dollars gone. I reached out to the county, to the agricultural office, nothing. Everyone passed the buck. And then the fines started again. One notice nailed to my door accused me of negligent fence upkeep. $300. Another arrived 2 days later. $500 for creating an aesthetic nuisance. Then $700 for obstruction of HOA operations. That last one? For emailing her too many times. Desperate, I went to her house. She opened the door at 2 p.m., barefoot and tipsy, wrapped in a silk robe with a martini glass in hand. "Karen, please," I said. I'm bleeding money. Just move the damn cart. She sipped her drink and leaned against the frame, all smugness and self-satisfaction. You know, Marcus, she purred. This could all be a lot easier if you just learn your place. This neighborhood has standards. Maybe you'd be more comfortable somewhere that fits. You're kind. The way she said you're kind was unmistakable. I turned and left. Her laughter followed me all the way down the driveway. That night, I sat on my porch and stared at that chained-up cart. 3 weeks of begging. 3 weeks of watching my business wither. 3 weeks of being mocked, fined, and ignored. Something inside me hardened. The time for politeness had passed. That evening, I didn't waste time calling lawyers or arguing with the HOA. I reached out to my home security company instead. I requested 3 weeks' worth of footage that clearly showed Karen chaining her golf cart to my fence, repeatedly returning to inspect it, and the gradual damage it caused. Alongside the videos, I compiled every message, every email, every warning she'd sent me. Then I called a friend of mine who worked for the sheriff's department. Yep, that's trespassing. And property damage, he said after going over the evidence. File a report tonight. We'll get it in the system first thing tomorrow. I submitted the report just before midnight, 11:59 p.m., to be exact, and set my alarm for 4:30 a.m. The morning dawned sharp and cloudless, the kind of light that revealed everything. I fired up the harvester, letting its diesel engine rumble through the sleeping neighborhood like distant thunder. Lights blinked on in windows up and down the block. Good. I wanted an audience. I guided the machine toward the gate, the 8-foot header attachment gleaming in the first rays of sunlight. The golf cart sat there, chained in place like a garish parasite. I lined up the harvester, dropped it into gear, and moved forward. The chain tightened, the fence groaned. Then a loud snap like a gunshot broke the tension. The cart shot backward right into the harvester's path. What happened next was a sort of mechanical ballet. The gathering chains hooked the front end, pulling it into the machine with ease. Fiberglass shattered, the aluminum frame crumpled, and the obnoxious pink paint vanished under a storm of debris. In under 30 seconds, the once pristine cart had been reduced to shards and scrap. I shut the harvester off. Silence settled in, thick and stunned. Neighbors stood frozen on their porches, mouths agape. Then someone clapped. Another followed. Before long, the street erupted in applause. Karen pulled up moments later, skidding to a stop in her Mercedes. She exploded from the driver's seat, her voice shrill and shaking the early morning peace. What have you done? That was a $20,000 custom cart. I'll sue you. I'll ruin you. I climbed down, walked over, and pulled a manila envelope from my pocket. Her rant faltered. What's this? She snapped. I handed it to her calmly. It's an official trespass complaint filed last night. Inside you'll find timestamps of the damage, security footage, loss reports totaling over $30,000 in crop damage, and statements from 6 witnesses about your ongoing harassment. Her face cycled through shades of red, white, and disbelief. She fumbled for her phone. I'm calling 911. You're going to jail for destroying HOA property. Please do, I said. I'm sure they'll be very interested in the complaint I filed. Right then, a sheriff's cruiser rolled in behind her car. 2 deputies stepped out, hands resting lightly on their belts. Morning, Marcus. One of them, Deputy Rodriguez, greeted me. Then he turned to Karen. Ma'am, we're following up on a report of trespassing and vandalism. We'll need you to come with us to answer a few questions. Karen sputtered in disbelief. This is insane. I'm the HOA president. He destroyed my property. You mean the golf cart you illegally chained to his land? Rodriguez asked, flipping through his notepad. The one responsible for documented damage over the course of 3 weeks? Karen looked like a fish trying to breathe air. She opened her mouth, closed it, then opened it again. The neighbors just stared as the deputies calmly informed her that she was being charged with criminal trespass, destruction of property, and harassment. The fines could easily exceed $10,000, and jail wasn't off the table. But that wasn't the end. By noon, video of the morning's incident had gone viral in local neighborhood groups. The sight of that pink cart being chewed up by my harvester had apparently struck a chord. An emergency HOA meeting was called that same day. By 2 p.m., Karen had been unanimously removed from her position. Her real estate license came under investigation once the footage made its way to her brokerage, especially since her harassment had involved racial targeting, a violation of federal housing laws. Fines climbed to $40,000, and the threat of permanent license loss loomed. The last time I saw Karen, she was standing in her driveway still wearing those yoga pants, shrieking into her phone. Her husband silently packed suitcases into their car. A for sale sign was planted on their lawn by sunset. As for me, I took what was left of her golf cart and welded it into a sculpture that now stands proudly in my front yard. The HOA tried to issue a citation for it, but the new board president, a retired teacher named Bob, just chuckled and said it gave the place some personality. Karen's charges: criminal trespass, $15,000 in fines, losing her HOA position instant, facing fair housing violations, $40,000 penalty and license review. Watching her face when the deputies read her rights? Absolutely worth it.